I think partly what's fascinating about snow leopards is that we know so very little about them. You rarely ever see them, and yet they are this incredibly beautiful big cat that roams these mountains where people rarely ever go. For me, losing a species such as snow leopards, which is so charismatic, is also a loss to part of the human culture. So meaning that you lose the snow leopards is essentially also meaning that you lose a bit of yourself.
So the goal is to try and find out whether the snow leopard is indeed there and how many individuals there are. It's an area, this national park, where no one has been studying the snow leopard. If we don't manage to protect the species in a place like that, in a remote part of the planet, which is high mountains, then I really wonder what can we conserve.
We know that we have 25 cameras, okay? We know that we need basically to cover all these areas. What we are trying to do is to understand what could be the optimal trap spacing.
Putting a number on the snow leopard is kind of a target. It's like the ultimate objective. But if the number of animals is too low, we still have the data to show that. Really, what we would hope to go home with is to have a sense of what's happening in this area. Imagine that you can only drive by car here. You know, you're here at 9 in the morning and you want to go and set a camera trap here. You know, you may not be able to do it. So we thought to do a map which is of what is realistic.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be flexible depending on what we see there.
We are losing species in the world much faster than the normal background rate would be. And this is due to humans. Because we are using up the resources of the planet. We are going into areas where there would normally be lots of wildlife, and we are essentially removing them from the areas because we want to either have livestock or agriculture in these areas.
We have been so successful at dominating the planet and bringing so many species at the verge of extinction that we are even now talking of an epoch of our planet called the Anthropocene. A geological epoch which is characterized by the impact of human on the planet.
Russian?
Russian.
Kazakh?
Yes.
What time?
2? 2.
The camera traps is a relatively simple device, which is triggered by an infrared sensor, so much in the same way as the light that turns on in your carport whenever you come home switches on when you have a movement in front of it. It's the same with the camera trap. is it has the sensor and something passes by and it takes a photo within a quarter of a second or something. The way we actually physically place the camera traps is we use 2 camera traps and we try and put them directly opposite to each other. So if anything passes by, you get 2 frames of the same instance. And in this case, with snow leopards, because they have the spots, you get photos of both sides of them.
We are there, eh? The camp is there.
The camp is
Good.
yeah.
From Google Earth to reality.
Are we sleeping in beds? Is there enough beds for everyone in the ranger post? On the floor.
One. Ooh, yeah. Even me, I'm very old. I cannot sleep on the floor.
Well, at least it's not cold.
We have to change it.
How far it is until here?
Camp.
Our camp is here.
Our
So
camp
we
is
have
here.
to
You need to
change.
just
Yeah.
With the car we can go a bit deeper. But here.
No.
Yeah. So we
So can
have
you
to
ask him if
change.
this valley is good? Because tomorrow we could set 1 and 2, for example.
Әшейін
Yeah,
бітіріп,
Hoca will.
сонан кейін келеміз ғой. Сонан кейін деші, осыдан бастайық па жоқ, мынадан бастайық па деп, мынадардан сұрашы.
The 50
This one.
camera.
This one.
It's
Yeah,
like 25 camera until here.
68 and
Okay.
69. This one is
Yes.
okay.
No,
This is
it's
not,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
We have to change it.
how far it
We are going to set camera traps in pairs so that we can get photographs of both sides of the animals, and then we can identify animals, whether they come in one direction or the other, and we can identify animals photographed at different stations. And these are exactly the data that we need to try later to estimate the abundance. We are probably going over almost 1,000 square kilometers with these 50 camera traps, so we are going to cover a big area. Do you have an excellent understanding? Really? My first ibex.
That's spectacular.
Not this.
Onda ben öldürülmeniz için.
No, I didn't.
Have a look.
I went, yeah.
There's about 5 tail ibex.
Yeah. So let's aim for the 363.
Oğlum güdük kuşaldım
Canım,
bir
ben-
gezgi gittim ben.
Buldayım.
Fresh track of leopard and fox together, going up in the valley, and they're following somehow a kind of trail. Amazing. 26 minutes after our leaving from the hut.
Great bomba.
Ilbis.
Elvis. This one?
This is Ibis, for sure.
Yes, Elvis.
How do we mark this cat?
Let's call him
S. SC?
SI.
Yeah.
Scat Ibis. Right.
So I call you SI1, okay?
Yes. Right here.
But it looks like it's going close to the rocks rather than coming here on the shrubs, no?
Yeah.
We don't need it very high, yeah? It can be here. That'll be good. You could put a bigger one there, no?
Yeah, it's almost missed for it, you see?
You want a bigger one to go across?
No, I actually think
It's okay?
this is pretty sweet.
The snow leopard is what we call a flagship species, meaning a charismatic species, a species that attracts a lot of attention. And at the same time, they are usually like umbrella species. They are witness of the entire ecosystem where they live. And being the snow leopard a top predator, very delicate, depending on wild prey, depending on intact habitat, makes it a good indicator species for mountains.
Very good.
Okay, so I call it CT.
CT001.
That's on. First camera.
It's very much true for most of the large carnivores, you know, they are guardians to the health of a good ecosystem. If they are doing poor, then you have a problem within your environment, and if they're doing well, you have a very healthy environment. The Yellowstone wolves are really the prime example of how Yellowstone was. There was no large carnivores in Yellowstone, and you released wolves, and essentially you got a much more healthy ecosystem. You got a lot higher biodiversity because the area was completely overgrazed by their prey, and as their numbers reduced, it suddenly gave grounds for a lot more species to be there.
Snow leopards are just some of the most sneaky, stealthy animals on the planet. If you see a snow leopard, you can be damn sure it chose to move and was all right with you spotting it. Because it would have known you were there 100 times before you knew it was there. I've never seen any of the animals I've worked with in the wild. Yes, I've seen leopards, but not on the job. Because the job is not to go out and see a leopard. The job is to go out, place camera trap, capture as many photos as possible of snow leopards in as great an area as possible.
He doesn't like it.
Repeat for me which ones I'm doing then.
Which ones?
I mean, I get this one.
I think you should try to go inside.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
you go above 2,500, but not much.
Yeah.
You could see the valley. It's quite nice. Why don't we split here then? Because it makes sense that you work properly inside here.
Yeah.
And we do all the rest. Okay, so you have the main valley.
Yeah. And if
We have our valley.
Yeah.
In between there is another valley.
Yes, and that's why I said there was a tiny little house.
Yeah.
And it's a very steep incline. I'm happy to go and do it and put it as the easternmost point. But you know, you come. I mean, you park the car on the other side of the moraine and just walk over it and down.
No, but I don't say that you need to go over and down. You go that into inside that one.
Yeah, can.
You think it will be nice?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
easy one too. Emergency breakdown. Close to the Russian border, in the middle of nowhere really.
There's no real trails going up or down, right?
No markings, no. There's nothing, Claudio? It's just whether or not we should try the stone. There are some scats around, but I'm not sure it's snow leopard again. We have an old point here, which is one of Johan's camera traps, and I think that must be the one here in the valley where he got the snow leopard, right? Let's try and go for that. Set the camera trap, if we can find anything within a relatively short time. Then go back and then close to where the entrance of the valley, we try and set the fourth one together. That's my idea. Simply because we're losing time.
Tracce di leopardo fresche in uscita dalla valletta. Il fatto che sia un arcuato è senza unghie, al secondo e il terzo asimmetrici. Sembrano così facili da trovare le tracce che ti viene da pensare dobbiamo vederli. Ci sono, cioè non sono così. Potremmo vederli. You can irbis. Please.
How you taste that?
How to sweet.
Questo è già buono, vedi?
You found a good spot? Irbis? Irbis? See, seek and you shall find. Det her, det tegner godt. Det tegner virkelig godt. Se her. I sporene. Yes. Søg, og du finder græsmærkerne. Søg, og du finder. For satan, hvor er det godt. Jeg kan vi har let hele dagen. Vi har let hele dagen, og vi har set røv og nøgler af sådan en leopard. Så var der en, der lige pointerede for mig, at der lå et kranie her. Det ligner en jak. Umiddelbart ligner en jak. Og man kan se, hvordan hele næsepartiet her, det er eksisterende og gnavet af. Det er lidt svært at se, at der er nogle tandmærker. Den kigger man hernede. Dybe mærker i den. Der har været godt gang i den her på et eller andet tidspunkt. Jeg synes, der er en bag her også. Det er ren bonus. Jeg putter den i silika, for at den skal tørre ud. Og det er mere, fordi så stopper vi degraderingen af DNA i den. Den er relativt frisk, skal jeg hilse at sige, fordi den lugter. Chocolate. Flot. Er I klar?
realizing, how complex biology is, and not just understanding the ecology of a species, but also, the long-term consequences of not protecting it, or rather, how to protect it. It's very much, a long-term plan. And it's the wonderful thing about science is you ask one question and another one pops up.
I think in a way conservation is, well, it is in a sense a never-ending story because it's like science, you build up pieces that lead to the next step. You learn from trials and then you move forward. But at the same time, it's a discipline that needs to face crisis, so it has to act quickly.
I guess the horror scenario would be that, within a very near future, snow leopards are essentially gone for the wild, and the only place you can see them is on films on the internet, where they are just a speck of what they are in the wild, in their natural habitat.
What?
Could you ask if it is a wolf? A wolf?
Wolf.
Wolf?
Questo,
Manul.
Manul.
Yes.
Manul.
It's pretty incredible because it's a Pallas cat. It's called Manul. It's an endangered species. We hope to get it on camera traps. And that was shot nearby, I guess. And the wolf was definitely shot because it's a danger, it's a threat to the livestock.
For the woman of the house, where the wolf come from? How do they catch the wolf?
By shoot.
And what about the cat?
And the cat also?
And the Manul? Manul is not.
Yes, Manul by hit because Manul come down the close the house, so they keep the body stone because they must protect their lives.
But the Manul is not dangerous, is it?
They use the manual oil for sick. So they hit the by stone.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The oil as a medicine.
Yes. A backache or this is not goat meat, just sheep and horse.
Okay, sheep and horse.
Back,
We go back.
yeah. We go back. They are shepherds living here in the spring. They move up in the spring. They make the ger. With camels. They bring the ger with a couple of camels. They make the house, and they have a small solar panel, 2 horses, lots of animals. You can see the herds are there. So yeah, definitely not the best condition for the leopard.
I think the main threat for snow leopards is definitely that their prey species are disappearing as livestock enters much more of their range in the mountains. Obviously, the livestock itself would probably provide quite a nice meal for a snow leopard if it wasn't because there's always a human in the other end who does not want to share the livestock with the snow leopards. The second is that as human populations have increased, their possibility of young snow leopards to disperse and find new mates or new areas that they can live in has been decreased because they'll have to walk across plains where there's plenty of people and potentially conflict with them.
Trying to figure out how many camera traps we will be able to set. So we get an overview of where we are spacing the camera traps relative to the original plan. We are basically scratching out the sides on the edge because they proved to be too low, and there are livestock and not probably very suitable habitat. But we found that it's very important to enter the valleys and set camera traps at the beginning of the valleys. In 3 valleys out of 3, we found tracks at the beginning, including here.
Hej, skat. Ja, kan du høre mig? Nå, det var godt. Hvad så? Går det godt derhjemme? Ja, men det er en rimelig interessant diæt. De er jo sådan, hvad skal vi kalde dem, for store karnivorer. Det er sådan stort set hver dag, så bliver der sådan hævet en eller anden en ged ind, eller en ko ind, eller et eller andet, og så bliver den skåret med kniv og med hænderne, og så puttet i munden, ikke? Ja, boligforholdene vil du heller ikke. Der er ikke nogen af os, der har været i bad i 7 dage. Men ellers så lugter der så meget af ged og brændt kolort inde i huset, så det overdøver alt andet. Altså, det er et rum, som der måske er 1,5 gang større end vores stue. Ja, der er vi 18 mennesker. Det skal jeg nok gøre, skal jeg. Jeg savner dig, og jeg glæder mig rigtig meget til at komme hjem til dig.
Kom. Ja, det er chest liksom. Jeg vet det. I don't know. I think you'll be the longest period without a shower.
So Nurka, you translate?
Okay.
So when they go to take the cameras, they will have a schedule of which camera they take which day. The first thing to do when they get to the site is not just to take the camera and run away, it's to take a picture. The same way we did when we do start. But we write end instead of start. You can prepare the paper for everyone.
Mesela 11 gün осында болсын, камераны қойған кезде анасы камераның нөмірі, сим карттың нөмірін қарап, анасы атып, жаңағы нөмірін жазып, неме кістердің емес, бия сол сияқты істейсің деп отырмын. Әне анасы қойған.
You see, now it's reloading to make another one. So it means it works. If it's not working, you won't see anything on the screen. Okay? You'll see it like that. You'll see it like that. And then it can be the battery, it can be broken, it may have fallen. And so these are information that we need to record. Okay. Let's have a look at the map quickly. 1, 2. So they cut. And 1, 2. Come back. Okay? You explain it? You explain that What is really impressive for Mongolia is that the human population is the lowest density on the planet. So you are talking of less than 3 million people, of which actually half lives in the capital, Ulaanbaatar. However, it has, according to a recent report, 36 million livestock, which is an impressive number. And the amount of livestock have quadruplicated in the last 2 or 3 decades. And actually, in parallel, that has meant a decline of wild ungulates. Irbis. Eh? Irbis. Frup. Eh? Picture. Poof. Puff. Picture. Okay? Good? You don't know. Very good. Qui? Che ci metto lì? Like that. Did you find it? Maybe là, maybe there. No, no.
Come?
No, troppo grande. Too big. Quello là? No, no, è piccolo. No, no, come here, come here. No, un po' più grande, un po' più grande. Ora mi manda a cagare. Ah. Una piccola. And now a big one here. Beautiful. Yeah? Basta? Ok. Facciamo così, vai.
There were a few things of the drivers behind snow leopards becoming endangered that surprised me going to Mongolia. For instance, I did not know that the demand for cashmere fur on the international market was so high that you have so many goats running around everywhere. As you walked into the mountain, it was very obvious that the slopes, they were overgrazed, that soil erosion had begun, and even in the very last bits of winter, you know, there was huge amount of livestock in the area.
There is a very well-shown link between increasing livestock because of the global demand for cashmere and the decline of snow leopard.
There's not just one universal rule or ideology on how do you conserve endangered species of the world, because each species pretty much needs its own solution. But what's necessary is that, first of all, we recognize it, not just on a little local scale, but on a global scale, that things are in deep trouble.
Direct conservation of species and habitat is obviously a first strategy that we need to pursue. So making parks and making parks work effectively. On the other hand, you don't want to keep people out, obviously, because it would also increase the conflict and the negative perception of snow leopard by the people. So it's a matter of harmonizing land uses. It must be possible. So in this complex situation, it is clear that people have play a big role, and I think education then comes into play. You know, education and training of local people on what is happening and what can be a way forward. We need to move away from just doing our little study. We need to make sure that what we produce is communicated. I think I came to realize that people are really part of the problem in conservation, and so people must be part of the solution. They must be the ones that reverse the situation that we have created.
In the end, we're all 100% dependent on nature. So if you don't care for it, you're not caring for yourself.